Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the Brandao Collection Podcast. My name is Jonathan Brandao, and I'm very, very excited to have you joining us again. Or if you're new here, welcome to our podcast. Here on our podcast, we talk about all things pop culture collectibles, from autograph collecting, 1/6 scale figures, comic books, and really anything else in between that interests us. So we take some time taking a look at some of the new things that happen within the collecting communities, some exciting things that interact and go hand in hand with some of the conversations that are coming up within each of those individual communities. So each time we do a new episode, we're always looking to see, okay, what's happening out there in the world of whether it be hot toys, comic books, autographs, and every now and then some of these topics kind of go hand in hand and they meld together and they go across and intertwine with all of these different collecting hobbies. So today we have something really, really exciting. I am really looking forward to jumping into today's topic because as of this recording, we just had the big game here in the United States, as they like to say. Those of you who know what game I'm talking about, they have at this big game, they have the brand new trailers that come out for some of the biggest movies of the year. This is something that happens pretty much every year when we have these big sporting events. And of course, this year did not, at least in my opinion, did not disappoint in the type of things that we saw and some of the things that are getting hyped up here at the beginning of 2024. Now, before we jump into things and start talking about our topics for today, if you're watching us over on our video podcast, and if you haven't done so already, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell notification to be notified when we post new videos, whether it be these long format videos or some of our shorter topic videos as well. If you're listening to us on our audio format, once again, thank you so much for joining us, and you can follow us on not just our YouTube channel, but also our different social media feeds where we post daily collecting items, whether it be tips and tricks, some of the items from our collections, and much more. So let's jump right into kind of the topics that I wanted to discuss on today's episode, and that being those brand new trailers, at least that being our first topic we're going to talk about today. And the one, I'm not even going to just push it out for later, we're going to jump right into it, is the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer. This is, of course, the thing that all of us nerds, us geeks, who are maybe not really that into sports. There's, of course, those of us who are across all different types of likes and interests, who they do intertwine with sports and the nerddom. But I personally, I'm someone that does not follow sports. I'm not really interested in following any type of sport. I grew up with my dad enjoying certain teams, and whenever people ask me what my favorite teams are, I just go off of what I grew up with my dad enjoying because I don't follow anything. The only game that I watch is the big game every February. So that's literally the only football game that I watch every single year. I do watch the whole game, but I primarily watch it just to see the brand new movie trailers, the interesting commercials these different companies come up with. But this year, my main focus was waiting for that Deadpool trailer. We had heard rumors for weeks that that was going to be when this brand new trailer was going to launch. I was really hoping that Marvel actually would do it because that'd be a little disappointing if there's weeks and weeks of speculation and hype for this trailer launching and then nothing happened. I think that would be a big loss on Marvel's side. So I think it was important for them, and I think it's very smart on their side from, of course, from a business perspective, to take a look at those trends on social media and other places and see that people are expecting this, and to have that kind of as a deadline to release this information and footage and photos and everything to get people at the height of the hype and at the height of the excitement. And I don't think they disappoint at all. The general consensus, I seems to be very positive towards what they revealed in just this teaser. So it's not a full trailer, even though it's about 2.5 minutes, I believe. It's not a full trailer, but it does give us a nice taste on what to expect of Deadpool finally being part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, how he jumps into it, giving us kind of a little taste at least of how they're going to introduce him into the rest of the MCU, and letting us know that this is still the Deadpool that we're used to from the previous two movies. This is not going to be a sanitized version now that Disney owns the character, compared to what was done when Fox made those first two Deadpool movies. So I'm excited to really jump into the world of seeing the mix of an R-rated Marvel movie with the kind of full universe of the MCU, something that we haven't seen yet up until this movie. So what I'm going to do is, because our topics and kind of the main thing we focus on here on our podcast is pop culture collecting across those different items, I actually kind of want to go through some of the things that were shown in the trailer, some things that I know that other people have had conversations about already on YouTube, on podcasts, on other different formats, and look at them from the perspective of a collector. So looking at it from the perspective of an autograph collector, looking at it from the perspective of a 1/6 scale collector, comic books, all those things. Now, like I mentioned earlier, all of those things intertwine here when you come to comic book movies, because a comic book movie comes out, something gets announced, or something gets revealed in a promo material that wasn't previously known, and the speculation goes crazy on comic books. And what issue did this character show up? What issue are they referencing here? What storyline do you think they're referencing here? It causes these issues and information of these comic book series to go up in value for at least a short time. Some of them hold, but most of the time it's just a short period of time. And it adds to that speculation. And we've talked about before the FOMO that a lot of people feel of really wanting to be in the middle of the hype on that specific project. You have that, of course. Then you jump into the world of 1/6 scale figures, where people are talking and saying, okay, what characters from this movie are they going to create from 1/6 scale, whether it be officially licensed. So you have your Hot Toys figures that are officially licensed directly with Disney and Marvel. And then you have your third-party figures that maybe some other random companies go out there and create third-party versions of these characters that maybe the primary companies are not creating characters for. And then on top of that, you go back to the autograph collecting, where you say, okay, what actors are appearing in this movie, and which of those actors do I currently have in my autograph collection? Which people do I really want to add? Or maybe it's somebody that you already have, but now they're going to be on a shot that's even better than the last shot you already had in your collection. Maybe now you can say, okay, I have a Hugh Jackman shot, but I don't have one where he's officially in the MCU. I have an X-Men shot, but this is now, he's officially part of the universe with Iron Man and Captain America and Hawkeye and Black Widow and the Hulk and all that stuff, whereas previously he was not. So depending on what type of collector you are, that may sway your decision on what type of items you want to add and what direction you want to go in. So that's where all of these different collecting hobbies really, really meld together. So starting off with things, we start off right at the beginning of this trailer, just having a birthday party for Wade Wilson, where you have everybody there at the party. I saw Vanessa in the beginning of that trailer, and I thought to myself, I'm like, wait a minute, didn't she die at the beginning of Deadpool 2? And then I remembered, even though I watched Deadpool 2 not too long ago, it was somewhere last year, was like, didn't she die? And then I remembered at the end of Deadpool 2, he takes Cable's time travel machine and he goes back and he changes all the different things that went bad leading up to the second movie. So, which includes saving her before she died at the beginning of the movie. So that would make sense now. That's just something I completely forgot. And then as I was thinking about it, I go, oh yeah, I remember that's at the end of Deadpool 2. So that makes sense with that universe in that movie. So you have all those different characters singing happy birthday to him. Just a heads up. And it's funny, he's wearing this wig in that time just to look a little normal from his burn to deformed to himself. And then we have the first of the big connections directly to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and that is the TVA actually show up at his door looking for him. You have them in this like really heavy armor that I think is actually even heavier armor than what you see in the Loki TV show. But excited to see the TVA represented in a movie, because so far we've only seen them in the 2 seasons of Loki. So now you have the connection of the Loki show directly into the movies, and a nice way to kind of smoothly transition from the Fox universe into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because the TVA can jump between timelines and branches and such. It is a really smart way to explain that and really make sense for the story that it looks like they're going for. And then you have Wade Wilson, Deadpool, there in the TVA, just kind of giving a brought up to speed on what universe he's looking over, the different universes, showing us glimpses of scenes from previous Marvel movies. So you see a couple scenes from Age of Ultron, it looks like, from there. Which, speaking of that, a little bit later in the trailer, there's these shots of Wade fighting within like a snowy forest. It looks like he's fighting some TVA agents or maybe some other people, part of some other organization or something. We'll find out later on. But the forest looks very similar to the same forest that the Avengers are fighting in at the beginning of Age of Ultron, the Sokovia forest. I'm interested to see if that's just a coincidence or if that actually is meant to be a direct connection, because even the way the trailer is edited, it goes from showing that Age of Ultron scene to then cutting to shots of the snowy forest with Deadpool fighting some guys. So I think that might be meant to be a full direct connection between those movies, which would be really, really cool if that's the case. Other than that, we then have some kind of random shots here. We got Deadpool doing this really cool trick of loading his guns while he's fighting somebody. We have a couple other random shots mixed in of Deadpool getting ready into his costume. Just some serious, or silly, I should say, not really serious. Some silly stuff just to give some more detail of his character. And then we end the trailer after we have all this stuff introduced. We end it with him being kind of kicked to the side, being thrown to the ground, and then he's talking to somebody, and we have a person, a shadow, go right over him, and right before it ends, Wolverine's claws come out as a shadow as he lunges forward to grab Deadpool, and that's when the trailer ends, and we get our official title of the movie, which is Deadpool and Wolverine. We go this entire trailer not even getting one glimpse of Wolverine. So we see a shadow, of course. We see a little bit of his back at the end as he's going to pick up Deadpool. There is a shot earlier in the trailer where you see a guy sitting at what looks like a poker table or some type of gaming table, and he's in a white suit. And a lot of people are thinking that that is another variant of Wolverine from the comics called Patch. And I know there's a lot of speculation going on with that because he's got that Wolverine haircut still, and then he's got the white suit, so that matches that version of Wolverine from the comics. So that's very possible. Now, who knows if that's still Hugh Jackman playing that version of Wolverine, or maybe there's another actor that will surprise us that will be playing that variant, or maybe it's the same person. We don't really know right now. This is all just Marvel's game of speculation, knowing that people are going to pick apart these promo information and trailers to death. They're going to pick it apart until the next trailer comes out a couple months from now. We'll have that. But as we're talking about picking little tiny details out, one of the things I know a lot of people pointed out at the end of the trailer is right before Wolverine comes over with the claws, you can actually see that there's a ripped up comic book sitting right to the side of Deadpool. So, of course, the comic book fans had to scour the internet and match the cover, even though it's a ripped up comic, and find what specific issue is that comic book. And that is Secret Wars number 5 from 2015, from the 2015 Secret Wars run. So, of course, now that specific book is now going crazy numbers online. Now, it's not going for super insane numbers, but it's going for crazy numbers compared to where it was prior to that trailer being released. Prior to the trailer being released, it was not a book that would be anything that probably most people would consider a key or anything that people would add to their collection, other than, of course, they want to finish the run and finish the story for that particular storyline. But now that book is in a shot from the Deadpool 3 trailer, so of course it has to be in everybody's collection now that it's hot and a big deal within that community. So that shows you exactly where all these things go. One of the other things I want to jump over as we kind of jump around throughout this trailer, I was very excited to see Pyro from the original X-Men movies mixed in there. He's not somebody I was expecting to see show up in this movie. I know that the speculation on the movie in general is that a lot of different cameos from a lot of big celebrities are going to happen throughout the entire movie, because Deadpool's going to be able to jump through different universes and see and bring different characters in from the entire history of Marvel movies, all the way back to the 90s to the current day. So anything is a go if those actors are alive and willing to do it. It seems like it's a possibility they're going to show up as those characters within this movie. So that's another very exciting part to see where it goes, what the actual storyline of the movie is, because the movie's called Deadpool and Wolverine. You hardly see Wolverine in the teaser trailer, so there has to be a reason why those two characters are going to be our primary main characters, and what's going to bring them together, and the reason why they are forced to work together to save the multiverse or do something. Or as Deadpool says in the trailer, he is Marvel Jesus, which I think is kind of the most meta joke that any of these movies can make at this current time, because a lot of people online have been saying that Deadpool 3 is going to be the reason why the MCU is saved, considering the fact that most of the movies the MCU has released over the last couple years after Endgame, most people haven't been too thrilled about them. The general consensus about the MCU since Endgame has been really a meh kind of experience. Now, that's not particularly my experience. There are a few movies that have come out after Endgame that I'm not particularly thrilled about, movies that I haven't rewatched, movies that I don't really talk about. But overall, there have been movies that I actually really, really enjoy and put pretty high up on my personal MCU list. But overall, it seems like the general consensus, speaking to people that I'm friends with, and also just reading things and watching videos, is that most people are pretty about the MCU since Endgame. So I think that conversation that Deadpool was going to be the thing that brings the excitement back, other than Spider-Man No Way Home. I think No Way Home was probably the last time people got extremely excited about a new Marvel movie. And since No Way Home, I have not felt that anybody's actually been excited about a Marvel movie. I still go see every single one opening weekend. I enjoy them. I still like sitting there and being a part of it. But the actual general audience has not been excited about a Marvel movie since No Way Home. So I think this movie is going to do extremely well. No matter what the actual finished product is like, I think it's going to make a ton of money. And I think it's going to be very, very successful. And overall, I think it's going to put a lot of great and new life into the MCU moving forward. And I'm excited to see what direction it's going to go in and where we're going to see. So that's what I really wanted to do. I wanted to just kind of jump around through different things I noticed in the trailer, talk about the relationship of those items to the world of collecting. We have those items. We have the comic book speculation that's going crazy about that Secret Wars issue that's in the one shot. Of course, the appearances of these characters have always been popular. I mean, New Mutants 98, first Deadpool is always popular. Hulk 181 is one of the most sought after books, I think, in the entire world. I think anybody who's a Marvel collector, I think that's a book that's at the top of their list that they must own at some point in their life. So those are books that are already hot even before this, but they're going to just get even hotter than they were before just because of how great this trailer was and how excited people are about it. And then on the Hot Toys side, I know they'll probably make another Deadpool figure. They made a couple Deadpool figures. They made 3. Yes, they made 3. They made one for Deadpool 1. They had a regular suit for Deadpool 2. And then they did the Dusty Deadpool from the end of the second movie as a Toy Fair exclusive, I believe, around the time that movie came out. So that was just a different one. So they had 3 different versions. Or 2.5, I should say, with that. But you have all those. And then from an autographs perspective, I personally don't have a Ryan Reynolds or Hugh Jackman autograph. So Hugh Jackman actually just recently had a signing that I don't think he signed yet, but the pre-orders are done. He had a signing signed up with Celebrity Authentics. That a couple other signing companies were partnering with Celebrity Authentics on. I think Twin Cities Comics were partnering with them, a couple other places. I did not personally jump on that signing because I know that Hugh Jackman is actually a pretty prolific in-person signer. So he's somebody who will sign in person whenever things are in front of him, at least up to current day. So he's actually very, very nice to people on the street, whether it be fans or just people looking to get things done in person. So his signature is pretty readily available for a lot of times much cheaper than what they were asking for on the personal signing, on the private signing. So I just didn't jump on the signing because I didn't think I wanted to pay that price for something I could get cheaper, maybe on the second market, maybe from somebody else that is looking to sell something they got in person. His signature in person compared to what his sit-down signature looks pretty similar. There's no real differences between the Rush Street signature and a sit-down. He's pretty consistent across the board. So that's the other difference too, is that there's some celebrities where, let's take Nicolas Cage, for example. So Nicolas Cage actually just recently did a signing with Celebrity Authentics as well. And a couple people have actually been getting in those results. The last couple weeks I've been seeing them in the autograph groups. And in person, like at a celebrity sighting or at premiere, he just signs a check mark. He literally just, it's not even a letter. It's literally just a check mark he signs. But then for the sit-down signing, he printed his name. So you can actually see each individual letter in his name of Nicolas Cage. So you can actually see, he doesn't even sign his name. He just wrote it out, Nicolas Cage, on the items for the private signing, for the actual sit-down signing. So that's an example of something that is significant. So for those people out there who were excited about the Nicolas Cage signing and got a part of that, that's actually a really big deal for them. That's great that they got something that's as much higher quality than what you could get on the street. Whereas like Hugh Jackman, I think the quality is the same across the board. He has like a nice signature. So both ways, I think just paying for the private signing price compared to just getting something that somebody got years ago on the street or even recently, I think I just wait a little bit, for me personally, at least, to do that. I'll see what those results come back. Like once that signing actually happens and people start getting those items in hand, I'm curious to see if there is any difference between. I don't think there will be, but we'll see and kind of revisit that when that time comes. But that's an example of somebody who actually is a big part of this movie and that did do a signing at least. Ryan Reynolds, he has not done any private signings or really signed much on the street as far as I personally know within the last few years. I know that people have got him on the street. I know he's not completely impossible, but he's also not one of the easiest out of anybody that they come across. But that's somebody who I would be very interested in getting if he did do a private signing. Whether he did a private signing or actually did show up at a convention, that'd be pretty awesome. I would be very excited to get Deadpool shots done by him. So let's hope that somebody gets him for a private signing sometime in the future, whether it be this year or any other time in the future. That's somebody that I hope wouldn't be extremely expensive, would be somewhat reasonable, even considering his star status, and we'd be able to get some Deadpool shots. I've actually saw just recently somebody I know got in a Deadpool from X-Men Origins from his first appearance, the one that nobody talks about now, that for good reasons, that signed card that had his RR on there that looked pretty cool. It's a cleaner RR than maybe some other things. I've seen people have Ryan Reynolds autographs that, just like the Nicolas Cage one I was talking about earlier, that one had a little bit more of a checkmark look to it, even on Ryan Reynolds when he's going really fast, compared to actually spelling out his name, or at least giving an R and an R, so we know that it's Ryan Reynolds and not somebody else. But yeah, that's kind of our connection. And then we'll see what other Marvel superheroes or actors or actresses show up in this movie. Maybe there'll be people who we already have in our collection currently. Maybe there'll be people that we wish we had in our collection now that are people that we've been looking forward to. So we'll take a look. I'm excited to see when the next trailer gets released. The movie comes out in July. So right now it's middle of February 2024. So I'd give it maybe to like April or May before we see the next trailer. Give us another 2-3 months before we get some more materials. I know from the marketing team of the first two movies, they were some of the best marketing for a movie I have ever seen. So I'm hopeful that the same people, or at least people that have the same mentality, are working on the third movie from a marketing perspective. I think they are, based on the poster. The poster is fantastic with the best friends necklace. I think that's a great poster, which, once again, that's a poster that if you wanted to get signed only needs the two people. It only needs Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman if you really wanted to complete that. Those are the only two you need on there. Now, of course, if you want to go down the rabbit hole and add every actor that signs, that shows up in the movie, of course, go ahead. But I think it looked nice and clean because it's a white poster. You get two black signatures on theirs from the two main actors, and there you go. You call it done, have a nice poster there from the movie. So that's another example of something I think would look really, really great when it comes to collecting autographs from this movie. So that's all my thoughts, at least for right now, about Deadpool and Wolverine, the trailer, all the things surrounding it. We'll revisit this probably when some more materials come out in a few months, and as we get closer to the movie. Something I've kind of thought about is possibly doing reviews and possibly looking at new releases of movies that fit within our niche and within our topics we talk about, and maybe coming on here onto the channel, whether it be in a video or audio format, and talking about our thoughts about these movies after watching them. If that's something that you guys would be interested in listening to or watching, let us know in the comments below. Feel free to reach out to us on social media and our DMs and have that conversation. I'm happy to have that conversation, and I kind of want to gauge a little bit if you'd be interested in hearing my thoughts. I enjoy having these types of formats where I can just, for lack of a better word, ramble on, per se, talk about all these different things that are in my brain that get me really excited about being a fan of all these different types of properties. So, other than the Deadpool trailer, we actually got two other trailers that I am really excited about. I'm not going to jump into them and go into them as deep as I did with the Deadpool trailer, but I just wanted to mention them. And one of them is the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes trailer. I think that looks great. I absolutely love the Andy Serkis trilogy, the ones that he did that ended a few years ago. The trilogy was significantly better than it had any right to be. I personally am a fan of the original Planet of the Apes series, the one that started with the Charlton Heston Planet of the Apes. I grew up with those movies, watching them on VHS, watching them on TV, and then rewatching them as I got older. I think they definitely are dated in some aspects, depending on which movie too. But overall, I think they're very well done movies, even across the board. Even the weaker ones, I think they are well done, and I'm still a big fan of that original series of movies. When they started making these new ones with the CGI apes, I was a little cautious with the first one with Rise, and was completely blown away when that movie came out. That was 2011. Think about how long ago that was, and you look at that movie and you're still blown away at the CGI in that movie from 2011, which is crazy. And then the next ones from there, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, I think is my favorite out of the three, the second movie. And that's actually one of the reasons why I was excited about the Batman, the Robert Pattinson one, because that was Matt Reeves who did those last two Planet of the Apes movies. So that's one of the reasons I was excited for the Batman, which I haven't talked about the Batman on here. I think definitely lived up to that, but that's a story for another day. But now we have Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which is, there's a new director on the movie. It's the guy who did the Maze Runner movies, I believe. And now we are jumping into the future of this new world with the apes now kind of having full control over the planet, really getting into the details of their new society, showing a new king, following a new character who it seems like the new character has somewhat of a lineage directly back to Caesar, but it's been enough years that the memory of Caesar and all the things he did have kind of gone to past, per se. At least it seems that way. And now we're going into, okay, the apes are really taking things over. They're treating humans like animals. Things have been really flipped on its head, transitioning really into the world that we saw from the original Charlton Heston Planet of the Apes. And I'm curious to see. I'm really curious to see what the story goes for, what we get, what direction it is, and the biggest thing, does it live up to the quality of that trilogy of movies that had Andy Serkis? This one does not have Andy Serkis because, spoiler alert, Caesar died at the end of the third movie. So now, because this one is also, I think, maybe close to like 100 years or maybe more into the future from the third movie, that character is not going to be in there. But we have these other characters and we have other actors playing these roles, so I'm excited. It looks really good. It's the quality of the apes looks incredible as always, so I'm generally optimistic to the movie. I think the trailer did a good job of getting you excited, but we'll see where it goes. And then the other trailer I wanted to talk about that was released at the big game was the Wicked trailer, which I think Universal's not even calling it a trailer. They're just saying it's a first look because the movie doesn't end up actually coming out until November. It comes out to Thanksgiving of 2024, so we still have a good amount of time before this movie comes out. But I was excited to see. I actually didn't realize that we were going to get a first look at Wicked this month already, just this far along. But I'm excited to see it. Something I actually have never talked about here that's even on top of all the things that I've talked about here that I'm into, and things that I've really get excited about. The other thing is musical theater. So you wouldn't think that musical theater would attach to all these other things I like. But yeah, I do. I enjoy musical theater. I actually was in a lot of musicals. I was in the musicals in high school, took a break during college, joined a community theater after college, did a few musicals. I actually ran a small independent theater company for a couple years as well. And we did a couple different musical reviews and theaters shows and all that type of stuff. So that is part of my background. And part of those things, I am a singer too. So a lot of these things kind of meld together to bring musical theater into and on top of all of these other things that I'm into. So I kind of dip my toe into every single field, whether it be movies, television, musical theater, and then diving deep into the individual niches on top of that for that. So Wicked is one of my favorite shows. So I was excited to see that when the movie got announced. I know that they've been working on trying to make this movie for many, many years, because Wicked actually celebrated its 20th anniversary on Broadway last year in 2023. So I think ever since the show started in 2003, they've been trying to make a movie. And now they finally have made one. I think it looks good. It sounds good. I actually think the cast is pretty good. I was a little cautious about Ariana Grande playing Glinda, but I actually think she looks good and she sounds good here. So we'll see. Like we said, it's going to be until November until the movie comes out, Thanksgiving weekend. But we'll see from there. But those are the 3 trailers I want to talk about. I know that the trailer came out for the new Twister movie, for Twisters. Came out. There was a trailer for the Knuckles TV show on Paramount Plus. Those are things I did watch, both of those things, but they're not things that I'm particularly that excited for. I probably will watch both of them. But like the first Twister movie, I've seen it, but I was never like a gigantic fan. I thought it was a good movie, but nothing that I'm that excited about. And then the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, both of those movies I have seen. The first Sonic was actually the last movie I saw in a theater before everything shut down in COVID in 2020. So I saw that movie, and then maybe like 2-3 weeks later, we were all in lockdown. So the first movie, that was the last movie before that. And then the second movie I saw on Paramount Plus, I thought it was okay. They're perfectly fine movies. They're good for families, but nothing super crazy for me, at least. I've never been a super Sonic the Hedgehog fan. I did enjoy playing on the Genesis back in the day when I was a kid, but not anything super into, I should say. But Knuckles show, we have that. I think I'll watch it when probably all the episodes come out, if they're doing it one at a time or so forth. But Deadpool was the big one that I was excited about. The Kingdom from Planet of the Apes was probably number 2 right after that. And then Wicked was actually a surprise for me. I didn't realize that was actually being shown. So that was a pleasant surprise, something I'm excited about. So really, really exciting time to be a fan. I think even with the strike that happened last year in 23, I do think that we still have some interesting projects that are on the way, and a couple interesting things that are still going to come out this year and into next year that we can get excited about. Very excited to see that there's only one Marvel movie for the entire year. So Deadpool is the only MCU movie. There are other Marvel movies, I should correct myself. As of this recording, Madam Web is coming out this week. I do not have tickets to go see it. I haven't decided if I'm going to go to the theater or just wait until it's on some type of streaming, or at least just rent it and watch it from home. So we'll see what happens with that. I think Venom 3 is supposed to come out later this year. Kraven the Hunter is supposed to come out later this year. So Sony's still going with their Marvel movies. But the actual MCU, there's only one movie, which is Deadpool, which I think is a smart move considering how people have felt about the MCU and getting that superhero burnout, I should say. Or at least, maybe not even a superhero burnout, but maybe an MCU-specific burnout with all the movies and TV shows and the quality jumping all over the place. We got one good one, and then one that's kind of and then one that's kind of bad, all over the place. It's kind of burnt people out, and I think having only Deadpool this year is a great idea to really get people excited again, as I mentioned earlier. So those are all the trailers I want to talk about, all those things. There is one other topic I want to talk about before we wrap things up today, and just to bring it into another thing that we actually haven't talked about much here on our podcast, and that is 1/6 scale figures. Now, of course, we've talked about 1/6 scale figures. We've mentioned them a few times. We have them in our video here. We have our Hot Toys collection behind me. But there are some new announcements that have come out recently that I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about here at the end. And the first one that I do want to talk about is this brand new Han Solo figure announced by Hot Toys, specifically from Return of the Jedi. It's been a very long time since a Han Solo figure's been announced by Hot Toys. we only have, prior to this figure, we only have 2 Harrison Ford Han Solos that have ever been made by Hot Toys. That's it, only 2. So we have the New Hope Han, which was the first one. Oh, correct that. There's actually 3. I'll correct that. There's 3 Hans. There's New Hope Han. There's another New Hope Han, which is the Han in the Stormtrooper outfit, which has a different head sculpt. So I would count that as a different figure. And then we have the Force Awakens old Han Solo. So those are the only 3 Han Solo figures that have been made up until this brand new announcement, which now we have the Return of the Jedi figure. I think it looks really good. I do. I think it looks really, really good. I've seen people nitpicking the hell out of this head sculpt the last week or 2 since they announced this. And I think it looks like Harrison Ford. I do. Now, I am a lot more lenient on Hot Toys head sculpts than most people. There are people who their entire will in life is to do nothing but nitpick every inch and cranny of a head sculpt that is made by Hot Toys to say, look, it doesn't look anything like this actor. It looks like this person. It looks like that person. It doesn't look anything like a human. It doesn't this and that. I'm not that type of person. If you watched any of the reviews that we've done on our channel when we've done Hot Toys, I am significantly more lenient than probably any other reviewer out there on YouTube. There might be other people that are a little bit more lenient, but most people are a lot more harsh on head sculpts and everything that those figures come with compared to me. I'm just happy to have those characters represented. I'm just happy to see how high quality the content is, the materials, the head sculpt, the paint, all that stuff. I'm just amazed by that. No matter how many figures I've had in my time collecting, I've been collecting for almost 11 years now, Hot Toys. I've had 300 plus at one point figures. Even with that many figures coming in and out of my collection, I'm still amazed at the quality and how they get better and better every year. And this is no exception. I'm excited. And I actually did, just as a spoiler alert, I did order this one. So I actually have pumped the brakes significantly on my Hot Toys collection. We've mentioned many times before that I am in the process right now of selling a large amount of my collection and focusing down to just the Detolf cases that are actually right behind me here in my video. These 4 cases here from IKEA are all that remains of my entire Hot Toys collection as it stands right now. It used to span across my entire office in front of me here, to the side of me on both sides, and it even expanded into other rooms in the house. Now it's just in these 4 cases behind me, which is significantly better than anything you could think of when it comes to collecting. We've talked about before is that really focusing your collection, I think, makes you overly happier in the long run, because by being so overwhelmed by your collection, I think that just adds an extra layer of anxiety that shouldn't be there when you're collecting. You collect in order to escape the realities of the real world, escape all of the things that are going on, not only just in your personal world, but all the other crazy things that just happen in the world in general. And if you walk into your room and you're just hit with this ball of anxiety because of the amount of things you have, you're doing it wrong. I can't really say there is a wrong way to collect, but I gotta say there's a wrong way to feel. If you feel that way, if you feel that much anxiety, if you feel that much anger, if you feel any way but other than relief and calm and excitement and happiness, then I think you need to reevaluate your goals and how you really approach your collecting hobby, no matter what that collecting thing may be, whether it be Hot Toys, autographs, comic books, any of those things, and really kind of focus those items. But I have focused here on Star Wars stuff, so now I am extremely picky on what items I decide I'm going to add to my collection moving forward. And I saw this Han Solo. I love the head sculpt. I think he looks great overall with the Return of the Jedi costume. Now, he is not the Empire Strikes Back Han, which I want. I'm hoping that now that they have this one, they do end up making an Empire Strikes Back version. But for now, we'll do with this Return the Jedi one. It will be another year or two before we see this figure in hand anyway. But I have him on pre-order now. I ordered him the first week he was announced. You don't have to do that all the time with Hot Toys, but I've noticed lately that most Hot Toys figures actually go on the wait list pretty fast after they're announced compared to how it used to be when I first started collecting, and even a couple years ago, even like about before COVID. I think there's actually a lot more people in the community now, and a lot of people jump on these pre-orders right at the beginning and they don't wait for the figure to come out. I wait now a lot of the times, unless it's a character that I really love or something I'm extremely excited about, I wait. So this Han Solo one I jumped on right away because I enjoy it and I'm very excited about it. But other figures, I've waited until the official in-hand photos have come out, and then I've ordered it. So that's a case that I've done majority of the time the last few years, especially because I'm being extremely picky on which ones I pick up. I wait until I see what it looks like, the final product, and then make a decision on if I actually want to buy it or not. So most of the time I actually just end up passing because I see the figure and I go, it's not that it's a terrible figure, it's just that's not up to the exact quality that I wanted. It doesn't come with all the things that I think it should come with to make it worth spending the money on it, whatever factors that may be. So this Han Solo one, I'm excited. We'll see when it comes out in a couple years. Probably 25 or 26 will probably be by the time it comes out, based on how the timeline of most of these figures are for Hot Toys. Other than that, we did have the official release of the Padme Amidala figure from Attack of the Clones. That one I'm excited for because that's a figure I do have on order. So now it actually is officially released in China. So it will be arriving in the United States probably within the next month or two, because right now they're celebrating Chinese New Year. And this time of the year, whenever Chinese New Year is being celebrated over there, that's usually when a lot of the shipping gets delayed about a few weeks. So because it's a few weeks delayed over there, add some additional time for being shipped to the United States. And then once that item is in the hands of Sideshow Collectibles, for example, then they have to process it. And then it takes another week or two for them to ship it out. So it just keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. So it ends up being a couple months for any figures that are released around this time of the year, no matter what year it is. This is that time where if it's released now, you're probably not going to get it. Okay, it's February, so you're probably not going to end up getting that figure until maybe April or May. By the time it gets shipped out to the US, processed, and then shipped out to you. Even though it came out in February in China. But I can be patient. I can wait. I just know that now it's officially out, so it's not too much longer until it's in our hands. When we do get that figure, I am going to do a unboxing and review here on the channel, so keep an eye out on our channel for that, on our YouTube channel, I should say, for that review once the figure is in hand. Hopefully it's not too long, but we will post that once we do have it. And then the last figure that was actually just announced earlier this morning, as of this recording, Sideshow Collectibles actually just announced that they're doing another Beetlejuice figure. They did do a Beetlejuice figure a couple years ago that I think looked pretty bad. I'm not going to be someone that bashes Sideshow. There are people that are not fans at all of Sideshow Collectibles, whether it be the company itself, the people that are involved with that company, their practices, or whatever it may be. I don't get involved with any of that type of stuff. I don't get involved with the behind-the-scenes things with all these different companies. I kind of just go with whoever is the easiest for me to work with when it comes to purchasing stuff, I should say. But I do have to say that Sideshow Collectibles does not really have that great of a track record when it comes to their 1/6 scale figures and the quality in comparison to Hot Toys. Now, it's still a high quality, like compared to, let's say, like Hasbro or something. It's higher than that. but it's nowhere near the quality of a Hot Toys figure. And a lot of times their head sculpts are not that great, which the first Beetlejuice is an example of a not so great head sculpt. I was excited when they announced that figure years ago, before they showed the head sculpt. I was like, oh, Beetlejuice, I love that movie. That was one of my favorite movies of all time when I was a kid, and it's still pretty high on my list of movies. I would get one of those. And then I saw the figure and I said, never mind. Never mind, I'm not going to buy that figure. And I kind of just passed and moved on from it. And then today they announced a new one, which has rooted hair, it looks like. Hopefully that's what it is across the board. I think looks significantly better quality than that original figure. I think the head sculpt looks closer to Michael Keaton and his look in the first movie. So I know they're riding that hype train of the Beetlejuice 2 coming out later this year. So let's see. Let's see what the final product looks like, because a lot of times we get photos of the prototypes. The prototype looks incredible. And this applies to everybody, not just Sideshow, but even Hot Toys. The prototype looks incredible, and then the final product comes out and everybody just goes, okay, sure. Because when you mass produce something, you're going to lose a little bit of items in translation. So some things, some details get a little bit lost from mass production of head sculpts. Some details get lost in the mass production of costumes and paint and all that type of stuff. Details become a little softer across the board. But hopefully everything stays to that high quality from the prototype to the final product once it is released. This is a figure that I'm not going to pre-order right now. I'm not sure if I'm ever actually going to add it to my collection, but I am going to keep an eye on it and see what the final product looks like once it does get released, and we'll see. We'll see. Sideshow sometimes releases stuff a lot faster than Hot Toys, because I think they wait until the product is closer to being done to announce, whereas Hot Toys will announce something that's still 2 years, 3 years down the pipeline. So it really depends on the different priorities and the different ways that these companies approach these announcements of new figures and all those different types of items that are coming out. So those are all the topics I wanted to talk about on today's episode. Hopefully you enjoyed our discussion and our conversation and everything, our thoughts, I should say, about the Deadpool trailer, the Planet of the Apes and Wicked trailer, and of course these 1/6 scale figures that we spent a little bit of time talking about. Of course, if you haven't already, you can follow us on our YouTube channel, where you can subscribe to us and watch not just the video version of this podcast, but also all of our other short form content on there. We have our videos going over different topics. We have our shorts presenting different items from our collection and some tips and tricks. We also have our pages on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, where we post every single day different things when it comes to our collection tips and tricks as well, and all these other different types of content. We provide all the links to those different fields here in the description of the podcast, as well as the description of our YouTube video, so you can follow us from there. Below, I do want to ask a question here. Out of all of these movies coming out in 2024, which movie is the movie that you're most looking forward to? It does not need to be any of the movies we talked about today, but something that has not come out yet, as of you're watching this at least. Let us know what's the movie you're most looking forward to watching this year. Thank you so much for taking some time to go through all these different topics with us. Until next time, always remember, keep on collecting.